Okay, so literally the only problem with anybody or anybody's life is yourself. This goes back to just looking in the mirror. The only solution to any of your problems is looking in the mirror and figuring out what the fuck your problem is. But the real overarching problem that is linked back to everything, so like the root of every problem that anybody has, still linked to you, yourself, you're the problem. But the caveat to that is, the true root of it goes back to the fear-based paradigm, right? And your conditioning and your beliefs and your programming. But it all has roots in disempowerment, in giving your power away to something outside of yourself. And that comes from all sorts of things. Religion, programming, conditioning, everything. It's all designed, and all of your belief systems are designed around giving your own power away and looking outside of yourself for answers, for change, for growth, for what to do, for how to do it. It all comes back to you have the power to do what you want with your life. But there's this deep-rooted core root of all of the problems is giving your power away and looking out externally to yourself for solutions or whatever it is. For example, it always comes back to the mirror. It always comes back to the mirror. This world is a reflection of your inner being, your inner state, of you and your unconscious beliefs. So, say you find yourself in a relationship with your life partner, and then you decide to go into business together and create a business. At the beginning, you're viewing this business as your ticket to freedom and ticket to be your own boss and running the show and making the management decisions. You view it as your ticket to freedom, all right? And then, as time goes on, you and your belief system put an energy onto this thing that makes it something that is not what you intended it to be. You're putting some sort of external pressure on it, and you're constantly putting external pressure on the thing that then makes it into something that you didn't intend or you didn't want to. You are putting all your stress and your fears onto it now. You are now saying, this is my livelihood and I can't survive without it. And therefore now it's your biggest stressor in life. Same as whatever job you had before you decided to go in business for yourself. You probably did that based on some sort of programming, and then found yourself unhappy, decided to make a change, put the same sort of external bullshit fears and pressures on it, and then it turned into something you don't enjoy anymore and causes you stress. All the while, you have this life partner that you've gone into business with, And you embarked on this journey together. And your life partner is viewing this as their ticket to freedom as well. But then you have some sort of programming in you that says, I need stability over freedom and enjoyment and fulfillment of my life. And enjoying my life and enjoying what I do to make money for a living. And so you get yourself entrenched in this stressful, never-ending cycle of this is my livelihood and I have to hustle to make it work, even though it's already, some years have gone past and it's successful now. But for some reason I can't drop the feeling that it could fall apart at any moment because you have some sort of external programming based on the building of that business where it was touch and go at the beginning because you were creating something from nothing. So then you put all this external pressure on something that was meant to be your source of freedom, and suddenly you have yourself in another self-created prison. And on top of that, you start creating another prison of dis-ease, disharmony with your life partner because this individual wanted it to be their ticket to freedom, and you and your programming made it not that for them. And now you put your bullshit onto them of not being supported. You feel that your life partner is not fully supporting you in this endeavor when really all your life partner is doing is not indulging in your stress and your bullshit that you're putting on this thing that was supposed to be your safe haven, your saving grace, your solace. So then, not only have you created a stress prison within the business, you've created yourself a stress prison within your relationship. And constantly viewing your partner as not supporting you. Because your partner sees what has happened and that this has become a source of stress and pain, and when it doesn't have to be, then there's no wiggle room on your end because you're still functioning out of this programming of this is my livelihood, I have to hustle, never be relaxed, always stressed, work myself into death because I'm constantly in stress and I'll be dying of a heart attack at some point. Because you put all this fake stress on it. When evidently, if you wanted to just have some balls and stop fucking perpetuating the same pattern, you would look in the mirror and go, I am creating this. I have created this double prison for myself and my partner. I've imprisoned my partner in this fucking sick, twisted narrative. And now we're both unhappy. Because I'm not getting what I want, and my partner's not getting what I want, so we both view each other as not able to, having the ability to bend, and compromise, which is what you have to do in relationships, in order to support the other. You have this thing, this ongoing narrative that your partner doesn't support you, and meanwhile, they're only just not supporting you in your narrative and your bullshit, but they are supporting you. And then that in turn creates the same programming and self-imprisonment loop in your partner. And then you guys are just continuously bashing heads on I won't give in to you and you won't give in to me. You don't support me, and then the other partner feels unsupported in their want to not live a stressful life. And you feel unsupported in he's just not meeting you in your level of stress, because they can see the bigger picture, that this no longer has to be coming from that energy of, this is my livelihood, I have to be this way, or my business goes under and therefore my family goes under. Again, you're putting some sort of external narrative on your life, causing you to be in a self-created prison. Self-imposed prison. So now you find yourself in this perpetual loop of stress and non-fulfillment and unsatisfaction with your life and your partner. All because you're stemming from some sort of external belief that this business is everything and it's going to save me, and it can so easily go under that I have to constantly be running like this. All because you're spinning some sort of self-imprisonment narrative, which just created it even bigger, even more emotional, and intertwines your life partner in it, ruining you and your partner's lives with your narrative. Instead of looking in the mirror, realizing that that's what's going on, and making a fucking change. No, we just continue to live in self-imprisonment until inevitably the whole thing blows up. Because you can only imprison you and your partner and continue doing it to each other for so long before there's the last straw that breaks the camel's back. And you both just realize you can't do this anymore. There's inevitably a period of or several where we're gonna put our all into just trying to make this work, trying to be there for each other. We've been there for each other through thick and thin in the past. Why can't we do it now? Why can't we do it now? Because there's all this fucking baggage that's been created that neither of you are willing to let go of. And it's gone too far. That's broken you both. And now you guys are better off separated. Because that's it. This foundation had to crumble in order for you to look in the mirror and realize your own fucking problems and stop externalizing and giving your power away to false narratives. You never decided to take back control. You just continued to spin the same and perpetuate the same fucking narrative until it crumbled. Instead of in one of those periods where you guys were like, oh, all right, let's, we've been through thick and thin together now. We're been in a rough spot for several years. Why don't we both decide to spin a new narrative? No. You're so fucking entrenched in that narrative that no matter, it works for 2 weeks, and you're back spinning the same narrative, and you're back doing the same things, and you didn't fucking stabilize the wobble, and you ended up back in the same reality you've been living in. All because you failed to look in the mirror and change the narrative. Continuously giving your power away to some false narrative that you created. Some self-imprisonment narrative. Right? You're continuously giving your power away to the narrative that my partner doesn't support me. Meanwhile, your partner just doesn't support you in your bullshit narrative. They want out of this narrative, and you're not supporting them in not wanting to spin this narrative anymore. And so, therefore, you're just in a fucking between a rock and a hard place, and you're both not fucking budging. Instead of realizing you're spinning a narrative, this world is a reflection of your inner beliefs. And so if your world is reflecting unsatisfactory non-support, guess what? That's because this world is an algorithm, and you're saying, I continue to choose unsatisfaction, unfulfillment, working myself into the ground, stress, and feeling unsupported in all of this over deciding to make a change and over deciding to empower yourself. Stop fucking spinning this narrative and giving your power away to this narrative and continuing to perpetuate it, because this world is just an algorithm, and you continue saying I choose unsatisfaction and non-support over something else. So the universe is like, okay, another serving of unsupport and unsatisfactory for you. This is what I mean. I don't understand. I can't. Nobody on earth can make it any more clearer. Everybody's trying to point out the same fucking thing. There's thousands of people like me, like Bashar, like Esther Hicks, thousands of others, Jessa Reed included. Had to give a little shout out to my girl there. That are all using their own unique perspective and voices, and that's what we're doing here, all walking each other home, to try to get you thick-headed fucking humans to see that this stuff is so mind-numbingly simple. It's just difficult. Simple concepts that are hard to execute because of emotions and programming and conditioning and the conditioning to continue to look outside of yourself for answers instead of looking in the fucking mirror and accepting what you have been perpetuating and making a fucking change. Unraveling why you do that. Reparenting yourself if that's what it takes. Reprogramming and reparenting yourself so maybe there's a little girl in there that feels unsupported by their parents or whatever in their endeavors and needs to be healed. You need to step up and be the parent for yourself and be like, we got this now. It's all right. Heal that wound so you can stop perpetuating the narrative and fucking create something new for yourself. That's the thing that saved my life, right? Okay? So, I did the work. I've gone on the path. I went on the path of the unknown. I've gone on the path of self-mastery. I've gone on the path of the journey of self and just learning about yourself and why you are the way that you are, and why you react the way that you do, and why you do the things that you do. And so I started to see, yes, okay, this world is a reflection of me. It wasn't clear until later on, after having exited that situation. But there was a point where I was like, wow, this woman is the cancer in all of this. And really, that was me just pointing out a mirror that I wasn't quite ready, very close, but it was only like a few months after this. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Just seeing, or, having the balls to be like, oh, that's me. Anyways, and that's everyone that's living with sort of toxic or unsatisfactory programming and narrative spinning, unconscious narrative spinning. So everyone is the cancer in their own life. You are the one eating away and destroying everything healthy in your life and replacing it with toxicity. You are the cancer in your life. And once you accept that, you can start to make a change. This cancer of a belief system is ruining your entire life. So it's time to cut it out and start creating new healthy cells that are not eating themselves. That's it. It doesn't get simpler than that. That is the be-all, end-all. There are nuances. There are roots to every one of your triggers and your programs and your beliefs that you have to unravel. Simple concepts, hard to execute. There's nuance to it all, but in the end, that's the only thing that needs to be done, is to look in the mirror, figure out your problem, and figure out your story, figure out your narrative, figure out what you're telling yourself that's causing whatever the problem is. Stop fucking doing it and make a change. Decide to make a change. Step into your future. Become it. That's it. The world, that's the tattoo. I'm always wondering, like, okay, what do I get tattooed on my fucking forehead that I can continuously wake myself up? And that's what it is, right? Because, that's part of the game, is falling back asleep, learning some shit, waking back up, integrating that change. And then you're probably going to have to fall asleep again in some other area of your life. Wake up, integrate the change. So anyways, that's it. That's the tattoo. That's the thing I want to get I finally figured it out, because it all whittles down to the same thing anyways. There's a lot of these sayings that we say that are true and are pointing to truths. But in the end, the only one that matters is this world is a reflection of your inner state. If you don't like what you see, you're going to have to make a change. So that's it, right? So that's all it is. It's just always needing to look in the mirror and figure out what your problem is, change it. In other words, what are you feeding the algorithm? You need to take note. If you need to write a journal, this is the thing. The most powerful tool is your perception, because that's what's going to be reflected to you, right? That's what the world and universal laws and the algorithm of this matrix we're going to reflect to you. Yes, so if need be, make a journal so you can see what you're telling the algorithm. Take note of the stories that you're telling yourself, so that you can then look back and see how much of unaligned things you are feeding the algorithm. Unaligned with your truth, what you truly want, you're feeding the algorithm. And then wondering why you're not happy with what the algorithm is giving you. Or not happy with some sort of perpetual cycle of stress and non-relaxation. Well, because you keep telling the algorithm, I will choose this form of stability that makes me unhappy over self-fulfillment and doing something for myself. I'd rather stay in the path of the comfortable, the familiar. Familiar is always a better word, because a lot of things we're doing aren't actually comfortable, but it's familiar. That's why we keep choosing it. Rather than choosing the path of the unknown, that will make you happy. Your fear of the unknown, that's another thing. That's another huge one. Your fear of the unknown is what's keeping you stuck in this reality. You're saying to yourself, that's the thing. You're basically functioning under a belief. And you know what I mean? There's always some sort of underlying or like intertwined roots to every belief you have. So basically, you have some sort of belief somewhere that says, this is the only way I know of and am aware of, and I'm still operating under the programming and conditioning of, this is the only way I can make money. This sort of already forged path that I have and that I followed because somebody told me to. And so you're still operating under the belief that this is the only way that money comes in for me and stability comes in for me. So you continue to choose it because it's the familiar path. I want stability, so I'm going to continue to choose it in this way because I have some sort of belief this is the only way I can do it. Because your fear of the unknown. You fear that if you give up the stability or whatever, even Try to strive for some more time for yourself within that stability. You're still operating under some sort of belief and fear of the unknown that you're not going to be able to bring it in for yourself, and this is the only secure way to bring it in for yourself. Well, fucking keep perpetuating that then. Enjoy. That's the shit. You need to understand what things and energy your beliefs are spewing into the algorithm, which is going to continue to reflect back that core underlying belief. You may not think that that's what you're telling the universe, but you're telling the universe that. You may not think you enjoy that's what I meant about the familiar path over the comfortable path. You feel, maybe because since it's not comfortable, you be like, no, I'm not in my comfort zone. This isn't comfortable. No, you're in your familiar zone. This is familiar for you. The fear of the unknown is stopping you from making a change. And this is what I mean. There's bound to be some other beliefs wrapped up in that. And you have to untangle them all in order to create something new, or else one of those underlying beliefs is still going to be within your energy field. And then the algorithm is going to continue to show it to you. Even if you find yourself trying to branch out and figure out other ways of making money, if I sit down and listen to somebody who's doing such a thing, oftentimes it comes from a place of some other secure, quotation marks, way of making money, instead of being like, why don't I just fully surrender and trust into the path of the unknown, my joyful, my passionate path, and act on my passions and joy and align myself with my path of least resistance and my path of self-fulfillment, my path of my joy path, my passion path. No, instead of like doing the work to figure out what that would be, because it's too shrouded in the unknown, you're like, oh, let me think of other things. That's the thing, right? Your brain right now, in the state that it's in, can't conceive, because you're coming from some sort of belief and fear of the unknown, can't conceive of, or thinks it's too risky, of operating from some fear of that is too risky, cutting off your own authentic and creative flow, because your consciousness right now can't conceive of another way for you to make money doing what you enjoy, because you're still operating under a fear and perpetuating a narrative of that's not the case. So the only thing that your current mind finds acceptable is some other secure, quotations, way of making money that's inevitably not going to bring you happiness. Sure, maybe it brings you a few extra bucks, but it's not going to be the thing. Because you didn't ask the universe for the thing. You didn't fucking grow the balls and be like, you know what, I'm willing to surrender into the unknown. I'm going to act on my passions, my joy, and watch as that is me actively stepping into the flow, the creative flow, and sit back, surrender, enjoy the ride, and just continue to choose the path of least resistance, your path of joy, your path of passion. And watch as the universe fills in those gaps. The path is created as you walk it. And it takes trust, surrender, and surrendering and trusting into the flow, the creative flow process, and just trusting yourself. And your connection to source, and knowing that when you come from that energy that you're aligned with your path of least resistance, and therefore just trusting it and going with it. But no, you're still telling the universe, yes, I want to find a different way of making money, but this is the only way right now I can conceive of it, so the universe isn't able to give you anything else because you're saying no. This is the only ways I can conceive of it coming in, instead of surrendering to what the infinite possibilities that the universe could bestow upon you if you just dropped your fear of the unknown and walked and surrendered and trusted in yourself and experienced the ease and flow of that authentic expression and action based and taking action on those ideas of you that come up when you decide to follow your joy or follow your passion. Because what you're doing then is saying, I trust and surrender to you, the universe, and me, myself, and my path that I came here to walk, but have overridden with other programming. You're saying, I trust you, I trust me, I'm going to walk my path of least resistance, walk the path of joy, walk the path of passion. And the universe is like, oh, all right, here you go. That's what you're doing, then that's what I'm showing. Anyways, this is another long one. I've been made aware that I lose the thread, and it would be helpful to, after a long one, come back to the thread. So that's like what happens with podcasts. It's like you get so much information. It's like you can remember certain things, but not everything, obviously. I mean, I feel like I did this. I don't know. It's so hard to grasp. Anyways, look in the fucking mirror. That's all it takes. That's the through line. That's the thing you need to remember. Look in the mirror. Have the balls to make the change. This world is an algorithm. Be aware of what you're feeding it. That's what it's reflecting back to you. You want it to reflect something different, you're going to have to start perceiving things differently. Yeah, in order to do that, you're going to have to rework your own programming and conditioning and probably reparent yourself. Because guess what, buddy? You're probably coming from a lot of fear-based parenting and perpetuating that within your own life. Take note of every time you act out of fear. Take note of how often you're making decisions based out of fear. Take note of the thoughts and your perceptions and the things that you're feeding the algorithm, so that you can then go back and be aware of how much negative and whatever bullshit that you are feeding the algorithm, so then you can be like, okay, this is why it's reflecting it back to me, because this is truly how often I'm saying these fucking weird twisted things that I don't really want to believe, when I don't want to have reflected in my reality. Alright? You see that now? Then stop doing it. Make a change. There you go. There's your synopsis. Oh yeah, okay, so we have to add this. Stop, because that's what you're doing. So stop giving your power away. Stop looking externally. Stop looking for something external to you to fix something. Stop looking for something external to you that's causing your issues. Stop blaming external things for your issues. Take your power back. Empower yourself. And trust and surrender to your own inner being. Get into the path of least resistance. Yeah, because it all stems back to you looking outside of yourself for solutions or what the problem is, instead of looking in the mirror. Giving your power away to something external instead of looking in the mirror, giving your power back, being like, oh, I'm the idiot, I'm the one causing this, let me change it. Instead of, oh, it's everybody else's fault and there's nothing I can do to change it. It's society's fault. There's nothing else I can do to change it. This is so the opposite of empowerment. You're exactly giving your power away. Instead of, again, looking in the mirror, realizing you're the one causing the problems, realizing you're a fucking change maker, You have all the power in this universe. The only thing, other powers outside of you, are the algorithm that's going to reflect back what you believe. And it has power. It has power to reflect back anything you believe, create any reality that you believe. And yes, that's power, but it isn't external to you. You are the one that's in the driver's seat of that. So if there's some sort of societal thing that you're fucking blaming for this, it's like, no, you're a change maker. You could decide to make a change. Decide that that's something you give a shit enough about to get other people involved in order to make a change. Here I am giving a shit about the bullshit education system and what we're still fucking raising these children with, when meanwhile I fucking hate children. I don't want one. But I give a shit about the next generation and what we're perpetuating. You sure as shit can believe that. So I'm not somebody that wants to raise these children or wants to educate these children, but you sure as shit can bet that I would be the first fucking person in line to some sort of vote to change it. If we all decided that let's have a vote on changing the education system, and I'm not a voter for anything else, but this, something I actually give a shit about and that would actually cause positive change, you bet your butt I would be in line to vote for that. So, we are change makers. Make the fucking change. Stop fucking telling yourself otherwise. Stop allowing these parasites that are riding your coattails of hard fucking physical labor, because they know how this place works. They know they can create a reality for themselves in which other people work for them and they don't have to work and they can make a lot of money. Those parasites are continuing to feed you the sort of old world, old paradigm beliefs because they benefit from it. If you decided to exit that paradigm, then you would no longer be experiencing that because you removed yourself from it. See that there? Again, that is an example of you giving your power away to somebody else and therefore creating somebody else's reality instead of creating your own. It all comes back to giving your power away, lack of self-empowerment, and lack of looking in the mirror and realizing what you're feeding the fucking algorithm. End. Period. Like, if you all actually fucking got that for once, all of these people would have to shift careers. Shift into something else. Shift into teaching about higher levels of this shit instead of the fucking basic bullshit that nobody seems to want to grasp out of fear of the unknown, inevitably. Everybody would rather continue this fucking life that they don't enjoy of conditioning and fucking perpetuating and keeping on and tunneling forth with the status quo instead of realizing you have the power to make a change and actually doing something about it and actually enacting that. Be the change you want to see in the world. That's like the saying for a reason. Right? Yeah, that fear of the unknown. It's easier to walk this already fucking forged and, there's no brain work involved. I just shove myself through this mold and I will survive in this matrix. And a lot of people are just like, all right, I'll just continue to do that. I'm okay with suffering for the status quo. Not really enjoying it, but that's easier than carving my own path. While all simultaneously fucking complaining about it. Grow a pair of balls. Make a change. Stop perpetuating all these disempowering narratives.